Well, good morning, Chad. How was your weekend?
Hi, it's our first podcast that's going on YouTube. So everybody, this is us recording. So it's going to be raw. You'll get the edited version over on our Buzzsprout or wherever else, shop Spotify or whatever. But this is the raw. You see us doing it.
So, how was your weekend? Did you watch football this weekend?
I don't watch football.
You didn't see the
None.
Bills absolutely lose it again?
I don't watch it. No, I am glad I heard the Packers lost. And so other than that, I heard Tom Brady won. But yeah, I don't watch football. I've taken my time. My dad actually called me this morning. He was all, I miss talking football with you. I said, when it got political is when I just said, you know what? I'm trying not to be political. I still support who I support and what I feel, but I'm trying to work on this stuff. Trying to work on you guys out there. Concentrate on building my coaching business, as many people I can help. And that's really where I'm at. I mean, we have a new social media um, process that I took a course on, and I'm in the middle of implementing that. I did that with Gracie, my 17-year-old, and so she's out getting into groups and trying to talk about us. And there's a real system to that, how to do it. And so I've got that started. And as I just told you a little bit about it, how really social media really works. I mean, to where it benefits to really get some stuff out there, which leads us into our topics today, right?
Management systems, yes.
Management systems. And so I'm gonna hold it off to you. What do you have questions on, or where do you think we're going with this today?
Well, we were just talking about a management system, the point system, and then the spreadsheets that you are sending out to your managers. So, really, how did you come up with it?
Well, it's funny. It's really funny. It's who you meet and where you get to know. And I've struck up a couple good relationship with some other coaches, some other consultants. Like Mark Stoner has got the point system that he did, which the reason he had it was a little different than us. Our point system, I think his was about more of attendance. We don't have an attendance issue at our place. We have a lot of other little tiny, all the little stuff. Like, we have a great company, and as we talked before, we don't have any drama, not much drama, and we get rid of the drama quickly if it's there, or nip it in the bud. But it's all the little start a system, not work the system, and now we really don't have a system stuff, which I like a lot of entrepreneurs have. They want to solve an issue, they solve it in theory up front, and then work it maybe for a day, if a week or a month, and then it's just dissolved and there's no more system, and you're right back where you were. So we did the point system, where it has to do with all. We just had a management meeting last weekend, and we thought of everything anyone could do wrong and everything everyone could do right, and we put a point to it, some value. Like, no call, no show is either 15 to 30. 30 is our threshold. So, and it depends. We say 15 because maybe it's really someone's first time, and they might get 15 taken off right away, and all of a sudden we hear what really happened, and we might take it off, or it might make it an automatic termination, make it right up to 30. We don't know. So there is some play with the points a little bit to see what the scenario is. But for instance, call center. If once everybody's fluent and using the scripting, we have a management system now of surveying and listening to 3 calls a week. And we have a form for it, or we're creating a form for it. And the call center manager now listens to them, rates the calls. And if at the end of the 3 calls, the attempt is not trying to read the script, they get a point off, or 3 points off. I don't remember what the point value was, And then next week, if it's all good, they might get a half a point of that, whatever they got lost, back. They're still punished, but then they go 2 weeks of doing it good, they just gained it all back, right? So, I mean, there's a check and balance to it, and then here's what it's really about. It's getting everybody on board to continue doing their best, but now they're evaluated weekly to see how they're doing. and all of that. And then when you have the people that are going rotten on you, it just takes the decision, should we let them go or whatever. When they hit the 30 points, goodbye. You might let them go before the 30 points. When you see someone going rotten, it depends on, are they in the sun or are they in the shade, you know? So meaning, are they going fast downhill and maybe you can catch them and see what's going on if there's something in their life? Or is it you just put them out on the highway on a hot summer cement day and that thing is going bad, rotten fast, right? So, you know, it's a good check and balance system. So we got that. And then I didn't know what Google Drive and Docs really was about until I met Mike Fazy, one of my clients, who's a chimney company and a screen door company. And this dude, I got to have him on the podcast eventually. And by the way, we're going to have Sherwood Adams back on. He called me and goes, I hated what I sounded like on my podcast. I think you're great, Sherwood. But anyway,
it was good.
He was great. So he wants to come back on, which he's got a lot to say. So we'll have him back on in the near future. But back to Mike Fazy, this dude, I'm telling you, they have all the Google Docs sharing, and they've showed me they have a dude that works for them that is, I am not kidding. This guy learned how to do Google Spreadsheets, and it is like MIT style impressive. And the guy, I don't think he ever went to college, or at least he didn't do for this. And it is crazy awesome. And so he started always sharing Google Drive with me. And then it finally hit me, why in the heck are we not doing this? You know? And so, as you know, you had to help out with Google Drive just this morning with John, our general manager. So we're really getting big into the transparency of where you're at exactly in our company and what we want you to do with your job description to exactly your tasks. You know, we're going to be making spreadsheets on all their tasks, all their stuff, the notes, the dates, when we want it done, you know, how's it going? It's not done once it's implemented, it's not done. How are we doing? And keep going, you know, and that kind of stuff. And so, you know, so we're really going to try to be getting into 100% transparency with everybody on everybody knowing exactly where they are. And I mean, everybody. I mean, we're talking about our gopher to our general manager, you know, and so, and do that. And they haven't even thought about this, you know, since I don't work their operations, they're going to have one for me too. And they can give me points and fire me. I don't care. You know, if I do something wrong, go ahead, let me go, you know, that'll never happen, but still, you know, that's a couple systems that we're working on and doing right now.
Yeah, and I think Google, especially the spreadsheets, are a great way to also hold people accountable, because you can see if they're actively, you know, updating their information live, like as it's happening. Because I know that me and my coworker Autumn have a spreadsheet with all the passwords and all the logins, so we can keep track of, you know, how to get into everything from YouTube to the podcast, and we can actively see each other like updating the password, so nobody's ever lost or logged out of anything.
I didn't even know that. I didn't even know you guys had that system.
Yep.
By the way, if you look at John and Jordan's sheet, they're supposed to, like last week, getting all the passwords for everything. So you might want to just get with John after the podcast.
Yeah, we've got a bunch.
And get all of them from everything. You know, if it's a local one, I mean, like our Facebook, just whatever. But anyway, people, see, here you go. That's what we're talking about. I mean, who, when you get into business, it is stupid, crazy how many logins, accounts, and everything you will acquire if you don't already have. And do you have a system to manage it? So when we had our social media girl was terminated like 5 or 6 years ago, we scrambled. I mean, we didn't even know what we even had. I mean, so luckily we could still get in her company email, and we're figuring everything out. My wife ended up taking that project, and I think my daughter with her, and it ended up, my wife's sitting over there. How many pages of that password thing was it? Two sides. normal typing, it was like 10 pages of accounts
Yeah.
and passwords. And she still has that now. I think they've all been changed, so that key is pretty much toast now. But
There's like 15 on this list that I'm looking
oh, oh, Sophia, there's hundreds. There's hundreds. That's what you and Jordan have to go and John have to figure out. So, um, but yeah, so yes. So when you talk about, everything, here's what I want to talk about a little bit with management and stuff. And this is, so there's different types of businesses, right? Obviously there's adolescent businesses, you guys that have probably only been in business less than 5 years, doing less than $1 million. You're probably more of a technician than you are managing, and you're trying to make that shift over to management. The first system you got to do seriously is transparency for everybody to manage them. It really is the first big thing. You got to sit down, make spreadsheets, share them with everybody so you can communicate with them without talking to them. And so they know their objectives. They know. Now, I'm not talking about a CRM system. I'm talking about just a Google Doc, or something that gives them their objectives for the week, month, year, whatever. And and now if you're in the chimney industry or your HVAC people, you got to do your CEUs and all that kind of stuff. You might want to put on there, your calendars, stuff that come July, you're gonna have to make sure you've gone to a class or done a couple classes, whether you're paying for that or they are. All this kind of stuff. You're just organizing everything that you might seems a little bit like non-necessary now, but when you grow to a 15 truck, 25 truck company, or even if you just stay at 10 trucks, you're gonna need to organize it to have someone else manage it. That's what everyone always, if you're growing a business and you're doing it till you're gonna be 60, 65 years old and think you're gonna sell it, you're gonna have a big problem. You wanna be able to make it to where, if that's your goal and that's what you wanna do, which is fine, but it's easy to pass off to someone to manage because all the systems are there. And you don't have any idea how much easier business runs when you set this. You got to start running like a franchise. Don't become a franchise unless you really want to be, but you need to be operating like a franchise. And when you do that, everything is organized. The wheel is turning smoothly. We're always driving a big ugly Jeep truck wheels, that need to be replaced. It's round, it works, it's bumpy. Is how bumpy is your wheel? Who's working together and who's not, and how do you fix it to make it work? And so that's really, really what I do when it comes to coaching my people. I'm a bridge. I'm a gap filler. I'm taking you from here to your desired situation. And typically, whatever your desired situation is, you don't know how to get here, or you want to get here faster. And we need to just systematize everything so things run smoother. That's what a coach does. I'm a gap. I'm filling that gap for you to make it much easier. Because believe me, I'm still working on my business, and I'm my own gap to my own business. We're filling stuff and working things out and making things better all the time. You're never done. You're never, ever done. When you're done, you're going to be stagnant, and you're going to have whatever you have now in 10 years. That's the difference. And it's so funny how working on your business, systematizing your business, how you start making more money. And all of a sudden it starts to become a lot more money. And you're not even getting more customer acquisition. You literally will not know it until you start working on it. Think of it like this. When you started your business, you had 0 systems. You probably hardly knew what you were even doing, right? What did you do your first 2 years? All you did was your first initial systems to be able to work. And those got to where you are, right? So you might be $1 million company. You made $1 million with all these undeclared systems that you don't even know you have. Just by telling someone to show up at 8 o'clock in the morning, that's a system. You don't realize it. So when we say system, let's define systems. System is anything that is more than an SOP and a directive. It's all, everything can have a system to it, an SOP, a directive. like with our culture, like when I talk about no drama, we don't have a no drama system, but we flat out tell people we have no drama, and this is what happens if it didn't. So our system is when you get hired, we tell you there's no drama. When you're in training, we tell you there's no drama. And if you bring drama, we're going to nip it in the bud or we're going to let you go. So everybody already knows if you are going to pull some shenanigans, you're going to get dealt with very quickly. And so that's why, and you witnessed it. I mean, I asked you one day back last fall, we had one long time guy that really was an asshole one day. I mean, truly was, and blew up. And I don't even think when I called to ask about it, did you not even hear it?
I didn't see or hear it, but I knew something had happened.
But my point is we nipped in the bud, you didn't see it.
Right.
And then so by doing that, we neutralized the scenario quickly, and you didn't have this bad experience, right?
Right.
Of, hey, the shit just went down, man, and everybody, like that type of thing stuff, right? So that's what's great about having these systems. John, the general manager, and Brian, and Jordan, they know if something happens, it's not a we'll deal with this tomorrow or next week thing. It's punch it in the face now and get it over with. And that is just what we do. That's how we have no drama at our place. And so that's where the point system will start. We have little problems, our little follow-up problems and all this kind of stuff, because we're so good and systematized with all the stuff we do mainly, but all the little things, like for instance, I have to take a drink. For instance, call center has a problem with cell phones out. My mother was telling me this weekend, and we've been fighting that thing for years. Well, I called up and texted John, the general manager, said put the cell phones on the list for points, and I want it. And normally it's a 1 or 2 point thing. I made it a 5 point deal. We see your phone out, it's 5 points off.
See, you might have little problems, but you don't let those little problems snowball into anything bigger than that.
Well, no, because they're little problems. They're not the snowball type. They're just the little irritating, like someone laying on their phone a little bit in the call center. Like the phones are being answered. Everyone's, we don't have a not call problem, but there is other things they could be doing other than their own social media stuff, right? And so they're not allowed to have their phone out, yet they still do it. So now we never had a consequence scenario. So, it was always the warning. Finally get in there. You kind of get yelled at, and you might stop doing it for a week, maybe even a month, but then all of a sudden you're back on your phone. That's what's happened. And it's happened since social media has started. I remember when we didn't have social media. That's how old our company is. When the call center never had a problem with their phones out. And then all of a sudden Facebook and MySpace, well, first it was MySpace and then Facebook, and then phones, all that stuff with the iPhones came out, and Apple, all the nice, digital phones, whatever. It's just like, oh my God. And every girl is sitting there, you can't see them, but they have their phone and they're like doing all this stuff. And then it got so brazen. It was just, they're just like this now.
Bold.
Oh yeah. Oh, you probably saw it when you were there. Literally. And so, and it's been a thorn in our side for years, and we never really had a great system to knock it out, and so I took that from Stoner, and we're using it. And then I've got so many other systems. Here's a management system. I haven't been using it, and I need to start using it in my coaching business. It's called the BEE. It's a business effective sheet that you should, and we do this at Masters. We actually forgot to do it this year. We've done it the last 2 years prior, and it's a 2-sheet, like, ask you questions you rate at 1 to 10 on how your business is running, and there's some personal questions in there too. And when we first did it, it was hilarious watching the management team, and we still have the same management team from 3 years ago. I mean, and watching them all like say, well, how do you feel like our our culture is here when it comes to um, defeating something when it goes bad? One guy was like an 8, another guy was a 2. And I'm just making this up. I mean, that wasn't really a question. I'm just saying. But the point was 8 and 2. So then when everyone took it, and I took it as well, and it's funny being, a non-operating owner, outside looking in to them all working in, and how a lot of times I would have it as a 2, they would have it as a 10. And I'd be like, I don't see it like that. And then we would discuss it, stuff like that. And then I might come up to a 5, or they might come down to a 7, stuff like that. Or they got the question wrong. They didn't understand it, and they really are a 10. I should have been a 10, or they should, but the point is, it was a discussion on where we were and how we progressed. And it was a big difference last year from the year before. And we were so busy, doing the COVID scenario of 2020, and how 2021 has started off kind of yucky. We're really ramping up, and Master Service is such a big company that, we have a bad week, it's financially, it hurts. And so we have, last 5 years, we have not had a springtime problem, but we've always, before that, for 20 years prior to that, we were always fighting the springtime. And now that COVID hit, and now it looks like this year again, we're fighting the springtime issues. So what's the system for that? And so we've been I've been on groups constantly, using the system of social media that I read on my little thing, my coaching course I'm taking, on how to get into the courses, how to start asking questions, how to engage with them, and all this kind of stuff. And I put out there, I got into a dryer vent, excuse me, not a dryer. Well, I got into a dryer vent, but I got an air duct one, because in air ducts, you're not allowed to, we thought, and all the research I've ever done is you got to have an HVAC license, and you got to have a Class A or Class B license. Well, come to find out, you don't. Now, you can't work on the air handlers, and you can't touch the AC. And of course, the AC guys are all about, well, you can't do it. If you clean the property properly, you got to do that. And then you got all the guys that don't have it, like, no, you don't. They should be doing that with their HVAC anyway. When that guy shows up once a year for a repair. So, they don't clean the ducts. The AC guys don't. So you can make it 2 separate industries. So here we are. We're also trying to find a mason. We're on all these systems on the new ways to hire, new ways to interview. We've ramped up all this new stuff, new systems. So, we're just still evolving with systems. But when it comes to management, there's so much more to it. I'm sure maybe people get sick of, the poop story, but it's such a funny story on how to manage people in the morning. Make sure they're not, if you're not on commission, and you actually have hourlies, you got to make sure that you have the rule of not using the restroom before you clock in, or you must use the restroom before you clock in.
Pooping
It's
on
stupid.
company time.
$1 million I saved people I coached last year from that rule.
Oh my gosh.
Not a joke. I've saved $1 million. Saved 100 between 9. We can't really figure out. It's between 90 and 110 in masters alone 4 years ago when I figured it out. So literally, we our payroll was having 87 hours kind of average overtime when we weren't busy. And I was just like, what's going on there? So I just went into it. I looked at the truck logs. I looked at the clock in times. I started going into our CRM system to see what time they were showing up to houses, everything. I did all this, and I'm like, why is someone clocking in at 7:15? They're not leaving the shop till 9 o'clock on a 15-minute drive, and then they're not getting there. It's a 15-minute drive, and not getting there for 30 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
And we're talking a crew of 2 or 3 people now, right? Every day. And you have, 29 trucks in the wintertime. But in the slower time, we're down to, 15 trucks, and it's just like, even 15 trucks doing that, when we're losing money or breaking even, and you start seeing overtime when they weren't scheduled to even close to have overtime. So I went in there and I figured out, I did all this research. I walked in there, I watched. I had no idea what was taking people that literally had 2 minutes to load up with two guys. They should clocked in and literally be left in 10 minutes. I mean, and then and then go to their 15, 20-minute drive and they should be there, right? So if you clocked in at 7:30, you should literally be at your job no later than 8:15, And so I had guys getting there at 9:30. And then coming home, they're all working later, and then coming home, they were, whatever, and stopping at convenience stores and stuff. And so a morning stop at the convenience store, afternoon or evening on the way back, stop at the convenience store. It's like, So I show up to the shop one day, I'm hawking everybody, seeing what's going on. And finally, and I can't figure out why is it, it doesn't look like there's a bunch of meandering going on, but sure enough, I have to use the restroom. I go in the restroom. There's 15 guys in line waiting to poop. No joke. Long story short is, and it ended up being like this. So I go, what is going on here? And the reason it became the poop rule is because the guy goes, I got to poop. And I just was blurted out, there's a new poop rule. And so if everybody's here who's clocked in, get your butt over there and clock out if you're going to stay in this line. Otherwise, go to work. 12 of them went and clocked out.
Oh my God.
3 of them went to work. So we made a directive, and then we also saw that they're always going to gas and get gas every day, which why do you have to get gas every day? So that's not happening anymore. And we also made it where you only get gas on the way home. So no convenience stops in the morning anymore. If you got to get your coffee and all that stuff, you do that before work. You get gas after work if you need it. Because when they're coming home, they're in a hurry, right? They really want to come home. You're only milking the clock in the morning. You're not milking the clock in the afternoon. You're trying to get off. And so we make them get gas at night. And I'll tell you, I've taught many of my clients this. And last night we kind of were looking at this back in October, and we were pretty close to saving almost $1 million if you had my company and everybody else's.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And that's just one rule. I mean, there's so many different management things that you got to watch and do, and so I'm just, the clock in and out stuff is big. The doctor's note, and, if you're calling in, little stupid rules, defining them and having them written down or put on the wall, it's big because you always have something to fall back on. Someone calls you at 9 o'clock, say, I'm not coming in, I'm sick. And then they sit there and tell you, well, I was sick last night, and I said, well, why didn't you text me last night? Or why didn't you call at 7 this morning? Like, so now I believe we have a 7 o'clock rule. If you're not coming in, it's a no call, no show. If you call me at 7:05, it's too late. You're getting points off. And so these guys, but see, it takes the emotion out of also management.
Right.
Because you have a system for it and they adhere to the system. And so and it's not this like really butthurt type of thing. If you do something wrong, it's not the end of the world. Now, if you're doing something rotten, bad apple type, I don't care if you're butthurt. If you don't call no show and you call us the next day, in my book, you better have one hell of an excuse and prove it. Tires popped and can't get to work and grandma died. I had one dude, I don't know how you can have like 30 grandmas, but that guy did. And it's like eventually you got to kind of realize, you only have so many grandmas that can die. And I called them out on it. And so we started saying that you're gonna, if someone dies, you got to prove it to us. We're just, to a certain extent. If it becomes a problem, like if you're a problem person, you got to prove it. But if you're a good employee and you tell us your grandma died and you need 3 days off, go have it, because you're not habitually coming in late or doing shenanigans. It's the shenanigan. I love that word because it's such a perfect word that other than swearing, and so that's another management thing that's not going to be written down. And it's probably your most powerful one as a business owner. It comes down to when you have a gut feeling, you're right. And that's a hard thing for people to understand as a business owner is they want everyone and want to believe everybody, right? You just want to do that. But if you know in your mind and you have to question something, there have been other signals for you that you've questioned this before, or you've seen it before, or this person's starting to feel going rotten or whatever, or sideways. Trust that gut feeling. I have never been wrong. When I started listening to my intuition, that person is generally gone within a month for sure, typically a week. And it's hard for me to even talk to my general manager and stuff about it when I see something going bad. He's had 2 employees that I've told him to let go back in November that are no longer with us now, that finally that they did it. And it's just, I told you. I mean, I don't play the I told you so, but it's the I saw it coming. I mean, I don't know how much because I don't operate there, how much we had to put up with it, but and stuff. And now typically it's not a drama problem. It's just that they're not showing up or they're saying stupid stuff why they're not coming in or they're late and all that kind of stuff, and or you do start seeing, sometimes you start seeing where you start getting a lot of quality control from out of the crew guys. And so we haven't had this one in a while because we've been fortunate with the right crew leaders, and then we had just an open book with our crew leaders. If you don't like the guy that you're working with, let us know and we'll move him around. And then if the next guy doesn't like him, then we get rid of the guy. And so that's actually a good management tool that we don't even have written down. It's an open door policy on anybody. We do have a comment box. So if you don't have a comment box, if you have more than 10 employees, it's this guy's driving like crazy. This guy's smoking in the truck. I can't stand it. We've had this guy's driving like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Just whatever, and we try everything we do to shield the fact. We try to do everything we can to shield that fact that they're the ones that told us, but hey, we got to know some of this stuff. It's really funny. Anytime you're dealing with drugs as an employee and you start getting the intuition, or you don't even know it, you don't even have the intuition, but you start seeing the signs of stuff. Just you start getting elaborate stories of why they're not coming into work. And it's like over the top, like my front 2 tires busted. I'm on the highway. I don't have a jack. I got to walk these tires to somewhere, get an Uber. And they just start telling you all this in your first initial text. More than likely they're sitting at another job, or they're on their way out of town, or they're going to do something else. Because nobody, and then you try to contact them the rest of the day, they don't answer your text. It's like, okay, that's a pretty elaborate story, and they had no attempt to try to come into work. It was, this is what's going on. I'm not making it in today. It's like that. Okay, no, like with us, it's easy. You call a general manager, you say, hey, I got this happen. Generally, John would be like, okay, I'm on my way. I'll come pick you up. We'll get this thing towed over. Or we'll figure that out, get it somewhere else, and we'll get you into work, and we'll help you take care of this. And that's how we roll. And they all know that. And so when you start getting these stories of that, your management intuition is you. You start getting these like that. You can't, hey babe, can you close that blind? Gracie's car's killing me. See the whites of my eyes and we're shining off the car. But thank you. And so, yeah, but when you talk about more systems and stuff for management, I really wasn't all that prepared, but I'm trying to think of other.
I was thinking of the one that you have Autumn and I do, the weekly reports. That's an accountability system.
Yeah, I have I have you guys, because you guys are in your own, your own department, working from your house, not somewhere where you can just, kind of be monitored. So you guys send me a report every week of exactly what you did and what you're going to do next week. And then typically, we didn't have it this morning, but typically we also have a meeting every Monday morning about what you're going to do all week, right? And so, which we'll also have to have after the podcast. And so that's okay. So here's something that a lot of business owners don't find the value in, and it's such a waste, or so bad that they feel like this. Employee meetings. I mean, I don't care if you have to do them at McDonald's. I don't, everybody show up at McDonald's 6 a.m. buying breakfast. I don't care where you do it. There is no excuse not to have it. And everybody rolls their eyes like, ugh. But then once they start it and they keep doing it, and then they all of a sudden find a place and time to do it at their place, it starts to change the company. It does. And so, and the pain is they don't want to do it. Their people don't want to do it. It's not their regulatorily thing to do right now. So it's just so hard for them to do it. But that's called running a business. When you find all these mature businesses that are having, I don't believe in the everyday meeting, but I know businesses that in chimney companies that are larger, they have a meeting every day. They start the day off with a meeting. They're kind of like, that old cop TV show, NYPD Blue or something back. They started off every day with a meeting, right? Well, it's just, I mean, and that's how the show used to start. You were in that meeting every morning, and then the show continued. Well, I believe in having 2 meetings a week per department is what we're implementing in our company. We had one, and to be honest with you, they would lack on it at times, not even do that one. And it's the really what it comes down to is the management thinks what's repetitive. Well, that's where management comes in. You got to learn how to not be repetitive, right?
But things also change week to week, every week.
Well, that's the point of growing your business. If you're at a point where you're repetitive, you're not working on your business,
right?
And so I can go and look at any businesses, mine included, and I can find at any given time 20 topics to talk about. I still see flash seal being put on wrong at our company, and it just drives me insane. They're not coming up over the point the flash is cut into the brick or the mortar. They got to come up at minimum of an inch over it. I also see a lot of times where they don't lay the mesh down. It's just like, that's the process. The video on the or maybe not the video, or there's on the website. That's how we do it. That's our process. And then you can see if you can really see the mesh. Well, they didn't put a second coat on. I see all this stuff, and it's like, and these are my good technicians sometimes doing this, and it's like, I don't want to hear I'm too busy, because that's not the job. The job is to get it done right, and so and doing that. So that brings another point. A lot of business owners don't have that system to look at every single job. I don't have time to do that. Well, somebody make time, or have someone else do it, or someone needs to critique your jobs. And typically we're all professionals, especially if we own the business. We're typically our best employee. I hope we are. Some of you may not be, but most of you are, right? You can go look at a job, and it's a click. It's 3 clicks to look at the job, and you scanned it. It's good. Boom. You're on to the next one. I don't care how big of a company you are. We look at our jobs. Now, we're still ramping up a system to look at them better, and that's where the surveys are coming in with our employees every week and stuff to look at and blah, blah, blah. But, you can spot the bad stuff quick. All the good stuff's easy because they typically always do it good. But then the big green sword thumb, boom, where's this? Or you look at the estimate, okay, why does it say this? And why doesn't it say that? I mean, let's just face it, most of the estimates look exactly the same. So why is this one different? Or why did they leave this out? If they're not in our system, we have bundle packaging. So a waterproofing package on a masonry chimney up at the top, there's one for prefab masonry, and there's one for masonry flues. So it's a one-click thing for them. They click, they click on it, they choose it. Before they hit save, they choose it. They say estimate. They alter the price if it's a quantity, and then they say, and that's it. It's done. That's easy. if they don't use that button and they itemize it out, where's waterproofing? Oh, they didn't need it. Okay. Well, did they tell you they had chimney saver applied to it in the last 2 years? And I don't care what beyond that, you don't know if it was applied even correctly. It doesn't come off of our systems. Everybody gets it. Crown coat. If it's not crown coated, it's getting crown coated. We don't a la carte how to fix a water leak. That's our system. And then when we see it happening, then we get the training of what the customer said. I said, well, what did you say to the customer then? I don't care what other chimney companies say or say they did, or if there's any proof that they did it. I'm the one being called out for a water leak. So the system that we have in place as management to our educators which are our caller salesmen, is you show me a water leak, you don't take anything off. Only thing you can take off is if you have to do a crown rebuild or a crown overlay. If their crown is really good, or maybe minor stress cracking, the crown coat will cover that, but you don't have to put a new layer of mortar on. But if they don't have that, they're getting the mortar crown. That's the only thing that we give any leeway with. And we do see it to where they'll estimate it and they'll get some story from the customer that anytime I hear this, I've never heard a good story of why they didn't put it on there. The customer's always financially trying to make it cheaper, and they don't need something, but yet they have a major water leak in their chimney. And I'm sorry, I'm not Superman. I can identify some leaks. I can definitely tell if it's flashing. But in my experience, and this is where you get into where you're a mature company, I have for sure seen 100% it's the flashing. So we fixed the flashing. Well, it still leaks. Okay, so now let's waterproof it. Okay, still leaks. Now let's put the cap on and the mortar crown and it stops leaking. I just don't play the a la carte game. Fix it. We professionally go through the whole scripting. And then, we did a podcast on scripting, but scripting everything. I mean, management systems is to identify and listen to the scripts as well.
So do you have some sort of like loose scripting for people that work out in the field?
We have the anatomy of a sale. And so we even script, we actually need to work on this a little bit more, but we need to script a little bit more and letting the crew leaders and the workers know a little bit more of how we script it out and talk about it in case there's any customer questions or issues and stuff like that, which we don't ever have any problems on that, really. It's just the more education you give them and the more stuff they sound, the better we are anyway, right? So
True.
And then you have the training systems to pivot over there. That's where we were talking about meetings, and I know right now there's a bunch of chimney stuff going on that's crazy about CEUs, but and training, but it's any industry. I don't care. I got plumbers that I work with. I got HVAC. I've got furniture repairs. I got screen door companies. You're never done. There's going to be a new door to screen. There's going to be a new plumbing system out there. And whatever. If you don't stop training, and this is where your weekly meetings come into, if you don't start showing people the new stuff and then reiterate the old stuff, that's how you start building. And then we talk about the system of your company language. Your company language, that's where the scripting comes in. When the call center sounds like the educator, and the educator sounds like the crew leader, and then management, if there's ever an issue, sounds the same. We've gotten our story all together. And when the customer has a complaint, we've either done something wrong or the customer is bonkers. That's what it is. And we do things wrong. Don't get me wrong. We mess up, and the guys, we're still human. The systems are there to try to make it so that we don't mess up, but hey guys mess up. It happens, and so, but if they're hearing the wheel, call center or advertising, actually it starts at advertising to the answering the calls, to the sales, to the work, to the management, we all sound the same with our proven, upgraded, better systems than everybody else. Now, we hear all the time, and if you haven't heard this in your business, This is why you need to work on your business. We get asked all the time for a franchise, all the time. I mean, we see it in our reviews. The call center gets asked, the workers get asked, and I mean, really, we get asked that all the time. Why? Because it is the all beef patty, blah blah. I wish I could say that. I can't say. I need to memorize that because that's always fun to say all beef patty, blah 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 blah. You know, but that's us. You know, we're all beef patty in the chimney industry. You know, and we're working. You know, our wildlife is. So here's, you want to talk about systems. We revamped our whole wildlife removal because we used to be really good at it. All those employees are gone. We were so bonkers crazy in the last 5 years with chimney. We didn't even care about wildlife. Well, COVID hit. Now we care about that and adding more systems, right? So we're just trying to be as big as we are. And I fully anticipate breaking the $10 million mark in 3 years due to these other systems we're adding. And so, and I'm doing that without being there because we're systematized everything and continued. And so that's the next thing about management systems. So if you ever have to let go of a manager, or you want to train an additional manager, an assistant manager, or you're going so big you need another manager, they know your systems already. All they now have to do is work the system. All they have to do is they went from working the system, right, to now managing the system. And they know what to expect because they've been in the system. Now, when you go to hire someone who's not familiar with your company, the systems are all there, so they have to learn the systems, and then they can manage it. You don't have to be a chimney sweep to manage chimney sweep people. You don't have to be an HVAC to manage HVAC. Now, when it comes to the questions of the field stuff that's, you know, certification requires, yeah, you need someone there for that. But when it comes to actually managing a business, I can go manage anybody's business. I mean, anybody's business, you know, especially service-related construction businesses. You know, I don't need to know how to do it. I know how to do most stuff, you know, but once you start getting into lingo, if you've got your guy that can do the tech support, I mean, everything else is back end to get it all running fluently and going. And so, I mean, it's hard to go from an adolescent company to mature, and they have that mix in between. This is where I fill the gap to help people. But guys, you know, let's face it, most people aren't hiring coaches. They're trying to transition to do that themselves. And it's super hard. I mean, I did it and it was super hard. You know, I mean, I've got a lot of video reviews out there, you know, that I'll be posting out on our website and stuff that I had some of my clients make. And, you know, I mean, I'm not tooting my horn here, but I had a super sweet thing saying, I already mentioned it today, from Mike Fazy just this weekend on I put out there, I need some hooks for my business. I'm stuck at what I do. I'm not stuck on what I do. I know what I do for people. I know what I do for business owners. You know, and I've never been fired. Everyone loves me. I'm fun. I'm good. I make it seem like it's no work, you know, but I'm very business-like, but there's a spin to it I do with it. Could you get to know me? You know, I mean, I'm about business, but shit, if everything's about business, there's no fun. Life's got to throw in some fun, right? And so, but you got to make it to where it doesn't seem like work. Well, so I put this post out this week, and I need some hooks. This is what I do, you know. And then Mike Fazy gets on there, and he writes the guy can't say anything in 5 words. He's really detailed. So he says all this stuff, you know, hook, you know, a little bit of this, that, the other. And the very last line says, and there's one thing that Chad does that you need to put in here, is Chad makes hiring him fun. It's not all about the work. He makes it easy to do. And I was like, what a great compliment. But I mean, that's another thing, a thing that people need to realize. Management system. If you are a robot and you are all about business all the time, it's just hard to work for you. And if you don't throw in, you know, a company party, you know, some fun, you know, smiling more, it's a system. I think I've told people, I've told my smiling thing on here before, you know, how I had to force myself to smile coming in. I won't tell the story. You'll have to go find that in one of my other podcasts. But, you know, you have to work on you as well. It's a great scenario to talk about another management system. If you're walking in to just run your business and you're not working on you as well as working on the business, your business is going to stay right where you're at or even decline. So I'm not just talking Tony Robbins stuff. I mean, there needs to be that in there as well, though. I mean, you need to be working on how do you get better at being you, as long as you being better at building systems. And so that right there will take an employment culture and make you more money. So I'm just going to say it. If you're an asshole, stop it. Start being nice. Start being fun. It works. I swear to God, it works. We've all worked for that butthead that you just hate working for, but they paid you good. So you didn't want to quit. And then finally, what happened? You quit because you just couldn't take it anymore, right? I mean, literally. And so I've only been fired from one job. I caught shoplifters right before I started this business for about almost a year. My boss was a total jerk. Loved the job. Loved it. Caught shoplifters. It was awesome. And I ended up leaving, being forced to leave, but I was so glad to not work for this guy anymore. It was awesome, but I mean, so you have to look at this. We don't talk about culture in my podcast a lot, so culture is a system. You just don't even realize it. So when you start working on culture, when you flat out are telling people no drama, you're flat out telling a joke every once in a while, or you're having a company party, or you're doing this stuff so it's not all about work, you start making more money. And you think, well, I'm spending $5,000. Well, that's the size of our parties. $5,000 to $8,000 on a party. I'm losing the money. Well, it's really funny how in the next 2 months, production, culture, everybody's doing better. That's why we have a party every spring and every fall. Right before we ramp up for the late spring, early summer stuff, and right before fall hits, we have a huge blowout full day. And management goes out to dinner at a nice place the night before. And so we do that every year. So you need to have a system of when you're going to have parties and when you're going to have your, on top of your meetings, because it makes a difference. It really does. And then the system is everyone has to attend. There is no don't come thing. They have to come. Because you find out if the ones that don't come, if they don't show up, they're not going to be around much longer. So it just kind of helps you there. So anyway, we've kind of gone over a lot. I mean, we really didn't get into a whole lot of systems, but the point is really, I think at the end of the day is I don't know your business. So when you have a problem, no matter what it is, cultural, profit, SOPs, the idea is to think back, and instead of thinking how you're going to solve it, think about what you can do to create a situation to solve it. And then part B is manage it and make sure that it's being managed. Anybody can create a system, like we said in the beginning, and then start working it. But if you give up on it or forget about it, you're just going to have to do it again. And then you're going to be thinking, you might have created a great system, but since you didn't manage it, well, we need another system. You might look at some of the systems that have failed you. Maybe the system didn't fail you. You failed the system. And that's a lot of people failed the systems they put in place, and so that's key. Look back, make a list of all your systems and your SOPs of what's not working and what is working, and start working on it. Make it a management system afterwards to work that system. And you're going to watch your company grow exponentially just by working on the business.